I decided to play Football Manager 2016 and sim 10 years into the future to see how much football has changed into real life right now. We will be going through signings, manager changes, and just looking at how good this game was in comparison to some of the different ones out now. Now, first of all, there is obviously a few changes to the league. As you can see, these teams have joined and these teams have exited from the real life league. And to just put into perspective how long ago this was, Arsene Wenger was the Arsenal manager still, while Arteta was in midfield. Chelsea had Fabregas, John Terry and Eden Hazard in their team. Manchester United still had Wayne Rooney knocking about, while Tottenham were in their best period ever, with many players being scattered across all clubs. Now that is the Premier League overall. We're going to sim a couple of seasons. I want to sim one season and then look at it, and then a few more, and then a few more after that, trying to see what is going on with this team. Now in the first season there was already some weird transfers. Sadio Mane decided to leave Southampton and actually go to Man United instead of Liverpool. Kostas Manolas went to Chelsea for around £17 million, and Arsenal completed a double sweep in January for Casemiro and Bernal for a 31 mil combined fee. Now this was also the league table from the first season. As you can see, City won it, Tottenham actually came top 4, and you had some surprising results such as Aston Villa be relegated. Now this is obviously the year that Leicester won it in real life, so it's very different to the real life table, but ultimately it's not really that different to what you expect to see around that sort of period of time, despite Man City not being that good. Now when looking at the top goal scorers, as you can see, it won't be a bigger surprise to see what the results were. Top goal scorer ended up being Solomon Rondon, who for some reason was an absolute legend in this game, so this did not surprise me. While of course you had Iosi Perez second. Now in 2016, in real life, the domestic cups won by Manchester United and Manchester City. Now in this game, Manchester United actually won the Carabao Cup compared to the FA Cup in real life, and then to the surprise of many, Queen's Park Rangers, who were in the Championship at the time and actually came second and got promoted as well, won the FA Cup over Tottenham. Obviously you've got to remember this is before Tottenham won trophies, and you can tell this was long ago because Tajion Cherry scored the 2 goals that won it for QPR. However, I may have lied about this being the time that Tottenham don't win trophies, because in the same year they actually did exactly what they did in real life and thrashed Dortmund in the final and won the Europa League. Not only that, Real Madrid won the Champions League in real life this year, and they made it all the way to the final to get absolutely destroyed by Man City, being Man City's first European trophy, in an absolute domination on the stats. Now before we get into the second year, if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and if you want to know any more little details or anything, let me know and we can go through it on another video or maybe a live stream if you guys are interested. Now going into 2017, there is something we should cover just first, and that is obviously the 2016 European Championship. Now in this game there were some funky results, definitely. Ukraine ended up winning their group while France scraped through in the 3rd place playoff, and when you looked at the overall tree, it is incredible. Croatia won the whole tournament on penalties against the Netherlands, while teams like Greece ended up getting to the semi-final, and England knocked out France in the first knockout round. Before we move on, I want to show this England team. Who would have thought a team in the Euros would consist of Steve Cook, James Milner on the left wing, and even Saido Berahino on the bench? This is definitely a team of the ages. Now looking at the table for 2017, obviously the newly promoted sides Norwich, QPR and Cardiff. Norwich were the only one to stay up, but more importantly Manchester United won the Premier League again, which definitely didn't happen in real life, and overcome a brilliant deficit. Now in terms of the stats, as you can see, the goal scorers won't be that much of a surprise, with Harry Kane and Lukaku being the top 2, but Kevin Volland, who signed for Chelsea, was the 3rd goal scorer, and on the assist for some reason Andre Herrera got it, with Ozil getting the highest average rating. Now in terms of key signings, we had David Alaba go to Man City for around £42 million, which was the biggest one in the Premier League, and that was alongside Gonzalo Higuain, 29 years of age, for 42 mil, also going to Man United, helping them win the league with his 19 crucial Premier League goals. However, they did sell Depay after a brilliant season to Real Madrid. They also brought Laporte in, which we saw in the league, and other than that there was a few big moves around the teams. Iosi Perez went to Bayern, Arsenal bought Ward-Prowse, and Manchester City actually bought an Ilkay Gundogan like they did in real life, of course. Now there was some quite considerable changes in the manager market. Jose Mourinho obviously won the league with Manchester United, but Tottenham, who came second, got Pochettino poached by 4th place Man City, who replaced an outgoing Pep Guardiola. Now one of the biggest stories from last season was the inclusion of QPR winning the FA Cup while being in the Championship. Now their league campaign didn't go well, obviously getting relegated, but their Europa League campaign actually had a good start, getting through the groups with AC Milan and actually only losing to AC Milan home and away. However, in the knockout round they played played Real Sociedad and got thrashed. And to top that all up, at the start of the season, they also got dominated by Man City. Now, when it came to the Carabao Cup, Tottenham ended up winning it as they already won a trophy last year, and then they followed it up with an FA Cup win as well. So despite losing Maurizio Pochettino, it didn't matter and they won the double. And actually in the final, Dries Mertens scored the winner, who they signed at the age of 30 years old. The League, Inter won it against Wolfsburg in the final. Idrissa Gana Gueye was at Villa and left straight away. And the Champions League was won by PSG against Bayern. Obviously PSG in real life just won their first one ever. Long penalty shootout. Even the goalkeepers took one. Kevin Trapp took one and missed it for PSG. Looking at jobs available, it's quite funny. Gareth Southgate was the QPR manager. Guardiola is now the Chelsea manager, as we've skipped a few more weeks. And in terms of the Ballon d'Or, or the best player in the world, obviously Messi won it twice and Ronaldo came second. And that's why I didn't really go through it too much in these early years. And the next time we come back, we're going to sim 3 more years in the future. So it's going to be in 2020, the COVID year, of course. Now, first we'll go through some of the other leagues. Barcelona won every single season until the last one, where Real Madrid won, with Cristiano Ronaldo scoring 33 goals. The Serie A was won by Juventus, who have won it every single season because this is in their domination period. But funny enough, Palomero were actually only 5 points behind them. In the Bundesliga, it was obviously won by Bayern, like we probably expect. Leverkusen came second, Gladbach third, Dortmund ended up coming fifth. And rounding out Ligue 1, obviously PSG won it as well. So not a very interesting time in European football, with the same teams just continually winning it. Now, I've decided we're going to go through some of the world transfers, not just the Premier League, to see what the big ones were. So this was June 2018. As you see, Angeles Kubias went to PSG from Sporting. Davy Klaassen actually went to Tottenham and then to Watford. If we go to July, you can see things really propped up. Manolo Gabbiadini ended up going to Man City after having a very successful time at Napoli. We've also got Depay, who's now moved yet again. This is the third time he's moved in this save, and he has been very good for Arsenal over the last couple of years. You've got Berahino, who has gone from Southampton to Everton to Chelsea from West Brom, so he's had a very big time just slowly working his way up. Now that moves us to January last year, and we've got Mateus Pereira to Arsenal from Porto, Isco going from Man United to Barcelona, and a certain Martin Odegaard going from a Schalke in the Bundesliga to a Manchester United. Now that sets us into the Premier League table, and Tottenham, Man United and Arsenal have all won a trophy. 3 different winners in that time, which is incredible. Tottenham winning it is probably the most surprising one. Only 82 points, which is quite low to win the title. And obviously Liverpool and Chelsea got top 4. The year after that, Arsenal fell to 4th. United came out of nowhere. They came from 5th to win the league again. Tottenham won the league and then fell off to 65 points. And look how close it was in the top 4. Other than that, in this season, Liverpool have come 10th but got Europe. Southampton, Everton, United here. And then Tottenham, City, Chelsea and Arsenal. Arsenal winning it quite comfortably, actually, with a very good season overall. Now, Arsenal's manager is still Rafa Benitez. He finally got his trophy. They got some interesting players. Vallejo, Vieto as well, another player that hasn't quite worked out. Now, looking at the top goal scorers for the specific last season, you got Sanchez, got it. He's still at Arsenal at the age of 31 and became an absolute legend for them. Now, obviously, that is the Premier League, and we need to discuss the European competitions as well. Because if we look at the Champions League winners, Juventus won it this year, 1-0 against Atleti, Claudio Marchisio in the final. And in all the winners, as you can see, Arsenal did win against Real Madrid in the final the year before. Other than that, in the Europa League, Schalke won it, then Marseille won it, and then Liverpool won it. And Liverpool won 1-0 in the final recently, with Morata scoring in it against Villarreal. And in the Super Cup winners, you can see it is the ones in head of you. Tottenham and Arsenal obviously have won it both themselves. Now, a little manager check with the main clubs. Obviously, Arsenal still have Rafa Benitez. Chelsea now still have Guardiola. He's been there for a few years. City have Unai Emery. Tottenham have gone back with Pochettino after he left and went to City, and now he's come back. Interesting career choice, to say the least. United have Ryan Giggs in charge. And last but not least, at Liverpool, who just came mid-table, but Jurgen Klopp might be on the way out. Now, looking at the cups quickly, Capital One Cup, Liverpool won it, and then United won it twice. So obviously Giggs has trophies there, and he won the FA Cup as well this year, beating City on penalties, with Watford and Newcastle also winning it as well. Now, there's one other thing that happened in this time that obviously we weren't here, the World Cup. Now, looking at the World Cup final, Holland beat Argentina on penalties, and if you look at the knockout table for it, you can see that Argentina beat Germany 6-1, Egypt 3-0, who made it to the quarters, which is impressive, and beat Senegal to get to the final, while Holland beat Uruguay, Iran and Spain to get there. England get knocked out by Czech Republic in the second round. We're going to sim 5 more years to make it to the 10 years at the end of the game. Now, as you can see in the champions overall, Chelsea won it 3 times, Arsenal Arsenal won it once and United won the most recent, which means in the entire save, if we look at the most history, as you can see, it has been a very diverse system. Looking at the Carabao Cup, this is the winners: Chelsea, City, Watford, Southampton, United, Liverpool, Tottenham and United. If we compare that to the FA Cup, we've got QPR, Tottenham, Newcastle, Watford, United, Liverpool, United have won 3 of both of the domestic trophies, Tottenham won 1 of each, and Norwich won the most recent one. Now we compare that to Champions League winners, and Arsenal somehow won the Champions League twice. Won it once against Real Madrid and then the second time against Barca. Tottenham made it to another final and lost. But as you can see, United have become very prolific in this save, winning yet another trophy. Compared to the Europa League, Real Sociedad won 1, City, Stuttgart, Valencia, United even won this, they've won everything. It's very much a more diverse play. Now if we compare trophies that have been won in England in this time, Manchester United have won 11 different trophies in this time, including 2 Champions Leagues and 2 Premier League titles as well. Compare that to a Man City, they won the first Premier League title in the save, but other than that they've only won 1 Carabao Cup and 1 Europa League, and they also won the Champions League on their first year, giving them 4 trophies overall. Liverpool didn't really have the best of times: 1 Carabao Cup, 1 FA Cup and 1 Europa League. They didn't win their Premier League, which they've won twice in real life in this time, so that is definitely a massive drop off from what is there in real life. Chelsea had a mixed time. They actually won 3 Premier League titles over the last 4 years, but have only won 1 Capital One Cup, Carabao Cup if you want to say, and no other trophies. They've been close in the FA Cup and actually lost in 2 finals, but it hasn't quite happened, and they've not been playing in any European finals either, so they haven't been able to recapture that 2012 form. And some of the other top 6 sides, obviously Arsenal we know have won 2 Premier League titles. They've also won 2 Champions League titles as well, but they also didn't win any FA Cup finals in that whole time, so the record FA Cup holders in real life have become a European and domestic beast within the league. Now the last team that obviously we're going to go through, because the other teams like Newcastle and Villa don't really have money, so they're not that good in this game, is the last top 6 team being Tottenham. Now Tottenham did actually win the Prem once in this. They lost in the Champions League final, which they did in real life on a different year to be fair, but they've won 2 FA Cups, 1 Carabao Cup and a Premier League, so a pretty wide stretch of things. They've also won a Super Cup in there, so you guess you take it overall. Now it's time also to look at some awards. So in the 2015-2016 season, which was the first year in this game, Footballer of the Year in the Premier League went to Mesut Ozil from Arsenal. Then it went to Sanchez from Arsenal as well. Hazard won it and then Ozil won it back. Ozil won Footballer of the Year 3 times, by the way, which is insane. And then Hazard has won it for 5 years in a row. So he has become a prolific player. And if we look at his stats at 34 years old, he is an absolute Chelsea legend. Now we're going to go on to the top goal scorers. Now, as you can see, the goals were always spread around 20 goals. There was no Salahs coming in. There was no Haalands getting 30, nearly 40 goals a season. Every single year was about 20 goals, and the highest actually was 24, which is a very mean average. Let's have a little bit look at the squads and trying to gauge the 10-year difference. So Man United still have David De Gea in their goal. Luke Shaw, who is still there to this day in real life and still there in this game, good player. Obviously Martin Odegaard, out of the real players we know, is a key one, and I'd say other interesting players, and Januzaj is still there. Now let's look at City. Do City have any interesting players? Now Rajovic was one of the best goalkeepers in this game if I remember right. They've got Jonathan Tah, who's just joined Bayern Munich in real life. Raheem Sterling is still at the club. Now next on to Tottenham. Now we talk about Tottenham a lot, and they've got Lafont. Gabriel Barbosa has been there since the first transfer window. Harry Kane is still there. Now while that's not that interesting, we'll go to Chelsea. Now Chelsea, this is a Bowley-less world. There's no Bowley. This is Abramovich still in charge. Now interesting players, they got Courtois who stayed, which makes sense. They got Ross Barkley. Leroy Sané's now at another Premier League club. Oscar as well is still there. He never went to China. Now we're going to go on to Arsenal. Now there is a few things about Arsenal that I have already seen which make me very intrigued. Matty Ryan has been their goalkeeper now for an entirely amount of time. Arsenal have a weird team. Hector Bellerin is still there. Kondogbia, Andre Silva, who's actually good on FM this year. Now, last top team we're going to look at is the last top 6 team is obviously Liverpool. If you want me to look at any other teams, so your favourites, let me know. They have Jack Butland in goal. Mino and Coutinho are still there. Henderson's still there. Joel Matip. Other than that, there's a lot of regions and just random players in here that aren't really any sort of note. Overall, when we go into the other leagues, the Serie A was finally, Juve lost their dominance and Inter have won the last 3 seasons. Now going to Germany, some weird stuff has happened. Bayern were winning every single season until we got to the 22-23 season. Now they did win every year other than 1 year In the 2020-2021 year, which is the COVID year, Barca actually shocked everyone. Got 90 points, which is a lot of points. Valencia just won the league with 91 points after Barca and Real Madrid have switched up a lot, which you expect. So obviously, the best player was won by Messi for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years in a row. I guess puts an end to the debate of Messi and Ronaldo, because Ronaldo just couldn't keep up after winning that first one, which is like in real life. So in this save, he won every one. Hazard finally won 2 in a row. He won the best player in the Prem for like 7 years in a row. So I guess that was always going to happen. He's actually won it 3 times in the last 4. And Depay got one when he was the top goal scorer, which was fair play. He's been really good for Arsenal. Any other interesting players in there? Neymar, Dybala came 3rd. Golden Boy Award. I mean, these are going to be regens, but is there any interesting people in there? Mateus Player, who's now at Arsenal. Rodrigo Bentancur won it actually, which is interesting. See Gomez. Golden Shoe Award. Is this the top goal scorer? And they rate it depending on the league worthiness. I think that's what it is. Suarez won it 2 years back to back, scoring a decent amount of goals. Lewandowski won it. Is Lewandowski still at Bayern his whole career? Yeah, he's still at Bayern now. Even though they're not winning the league, he's still there, which is fair play. Cristiano Ronaldo did actually win it 1 year. Well done, Cristiano Ronaldo. He got the highest score actually of anyone here, other than obviously when Messi was just going Super Saiyan in real life, but we don't look at that. Now, first we'll go through the European Championship. It was won by Croatia, which we knew last time, then Germany, and then Germany. And the World Cup was won by Holland and then Portugal. Europe on top. Look how many times Europe have won it in a row. It would be 5 times in a row Europe would have won it if it's in cahoots with real life. Looking at the World Cup, we missed then 2022 World Cup. Brazil actually lost in the final to Portugal. Portugal didn't win their Euros on this, but they did win the World Cup, so who really cares? They beat Uruguay 6-2. They beat England, Uruguay, Germany, and Brazil, which is a pretty hard run to the final, I would have to guess, in this year. So fair play for them to get there. Now, that is all we're going to go through today. Let me know in the comments who you guys think was your most improved team, the most difference to real life, and who actually was the most successful. I think there's a lot of discussions around a lot of Prem teams because it was quite diverse in who the winners were compared to real life, where it was just City and they barely did anything in this save. Now, let me know if you want to see more videos like this. I've got other plans as well, but thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.